If you're watching this video, you might have Spanish ancestry and you might be entitled to Spanish citizenship. But as of right now, in late August, you have less than 2 months left to apply for Spanish citizenship under the law, the Ley de Nietos, the Ley de Memoria Democrática. The absolute final deadline is October 21st, 2025, and with no further extensions announced by the Spanish government. This law, officially Law 20-2022, was enacted on October 21st, 2022, to rectify historical injustices from the Spanish Civil War and the Franco dictatorship. It initially allowed applications for 2 years. It was extended once in July 2024 to October 21st, 2025. After that date, this pathway closes permanently, and you'll revert to standard naturalization routes requiring residency, language exams, and cultural tests. This is your last opportunity to claim Spanish citizenship by descent without living in Spain, passing the Spanish language exams or the CCSE constitutional knowledge test. If you qualify, you'll gain a powerful EU passport ranked among the world's strongest, granting visa-free travel to over 190 countries, the right to live, work, and study anywhere in the European Union, and access to Spain's public healthcare and education system, and the ability to pass citizenship to your children automatically. But time is critical. Consulates are overwhelmed. Every week we wait, it's more difficult to get appointments, and gathering documents can take weeks. If you miss October 21, 2025, this door shuts forever. And by the way, MyLatinLife, we're an immigration and offshore consultancy firm. We can help you with the Ley de Nietos. We can submit your application before the deadline. This video was inspired by the fact that I just had a client sign up yesterday, and we're going to get him in before the deadline, but it's really coming down to the wire. So if you're in the same boat, there's a link in the description where you can book a call with us, and we can get the process started and get you submitted for Spanish citizenship. So taking a step back, let's break down exactly what the Ley de Memoria Democrática entails. The law's 8th additional provision expands citizenship options for descendants of Spaniards affected by the Civil War, which is 1936 to 1939, and the subsequent dictatorship until 1978. It recognizes exile, forced renunciation of nationality, and gender-based discrimination in old laws. Unlike regular citizenship by descent, which typically requires your parent to have been Spanish at your birth, this law goes further back than that, covering grandparents and even great-grandparents in specific cases. There are 3 main eligibility categories under this law, so I'll run through them real quick. The first is children and grandchildren born outside of Spain to a father, mother, grandfather, or grandmother who was originally Spanish but lost or renounced their nationality due to exile for political, ideological, belief, or sexual orientation reasons. The exile period is defined as between July 18th, 1936 and December 31st, 1955. After 1955, exiles must prove they didn't freely integrate into their host country until the dictatorship ended in 1978. Proof of exile can include registration with international organizations like the UN Refugee Agency, receiving pensions from exile-supporting countries, or documents showing participation in anti-Franco movements. Second, children and grandchildren of Spaniards who lost their nationality because they married foreigners before the 1978 Constitution. Under pre-1978 laws, Spanish women automatically lost citizenship upon marrying a non-Spaniard, even if they never left Spain. This category rectifies that perceived sexism, allowing their descendants to apply directly. Third, adult children over 18 of Spaniards who have already obtained citizenship through this law or the previous historical memory law, which is back in 2007. If your parent recently became Spanish via these provisions, you can apply as their child, regardless of your age. Importantly, there's no generational limit in practice for the first 2 categories, but you must trace the lineage directly. For example, if your great-grandparent exiled and lost nationality, and that affected your grandparent's status, You might qualify through the chain. However, two things need to happen. You need to demonstrate how the exile or loss impacted the nationality transmission, and really ideally, your parent would still need to be alive, and we'd want to give it to your parent first. So it's hard to give from a great-grandparent directly to a descendant, but if we can give from the great-grandparent to the grandchild and then to you as the great-grandchild, that's going to be a much cleaner pathway. Eligibility, worth mentioning, isn't limited by your current citizenship or residence. You can be from anywhere: Latin America, the US, Europe, or beyond. Many applicants we're seeing are from countries like Mexico, Argentina, Cuba, and Venezuela, where Spanish exiles settled. Dual citizenship is allowed. You may have seen that Spain asks people to renounce, but that's only during a traditional naturalization route. With Ley de Nietos, it's really citizenship by descent, where Spain doesn't require you to renounce your original nationality, unless your home country mandates it. Of course, there are countries in Asia and Africa where you're only allowed to have one passport and they force you to renounce. But if you have citizenship from Latin America, the US, or Europe, the chances are you do not need to renounce and you're going to become a dual citizen. Now let's detail the required documents. Preparation is key, as everything must be apostilled under the Hague Convention if from a signatory country, or legalized otherwise and translated into Spanish by a sworn translator, if not already in Spanish. Start with your birth certificate, issued within the last 6 months if possible to ensure freshness. You'll need your parents' and grandparents' birth certificates, marriage certificates, and death certificates if applicable. For proof of Spanish origin, submit your ancestors' Spanish birth certificate from their municipality's civil registry, or baptismal records if born before 1870, when the civil registries began. If they naturalized abroad, include the naturalization certificate showing when they acquired foreign citizenship, which often coincides with renouncing Spanish nationality, and hopefully it coincides with some of the dates that we've talked about to confirm your eligibility. To prove exile or loss due to historical reasons, gather evidence like consular registration documents showing exile status. You can get proof if your descendant participated in the Civil War. You can get pension or aid records from countries that supported Spanish Republicans, such as France or Mexico. You can find newspaper articles, family letters, or affidavits detailing the exile circumstances. For the gender discrimination cases, provide the marriage certificate showing the union before 1978 and proof that the Spanish woman lost her nationality automatically. All applicants must fill out the official application form. It's called the Solicitud de Nacionalidad Española por opción. So, por opción is by option. Under the democratic memory law provisions, you'll include a photocopy of your passport. If you're applying for minors, parental consent forms. And if your ancestor never registered as Spanish or their records are incomplete, you might need to first register their late birth or nationality declaration at the consulate, which can add time. And if you don't have their birth certificate from Spain, we're going to have to go out and get that, which again will add time, but it's possible. We can help you get the documents from Spain that you need. The application process is straightforward, but it's going to require an in-person appointment at your nearest Spanish consulate. As I mentioned, it's very difficult to get an appointment these days, especially in the US, but there are multiple consulates across the US. This late in the process, I would take an appointment at any consulate you can get, even if it's on the other side of the country. Because what's interesting is once we get an appointment, even if your application is incomplete, it's better to submit an incomplete application, and then they'll allow us to continue to add documents to the file for at least 30 days. So that's kind of the strategy we're employing here, is we're going to submit your application, even if it's incomplete, and then the consulate gives us a little bit of time. As long as we submit before that October deadline, the consulate gives us a little bit of time to track down any remaining documents. After submission, the consulate forwards your file to the Spanish Director General for Legal Security and Public Faith in Madrid for review. Processing times currently average 6 to 18 months, though some cases resolve in 3 to 4 months if straightforward. You'll receive a resolution letter, and if approved, You'll register your birth in the Spanish Civil Registry. You'll get your DNI, which is the national ID, and then you can apply for a passport. Some common mistakes to avoid here are, of course, incomplete documentation. Missing a single certificate can lead to denial. Also, not apostilling everything, because the consulates are very strict about that. If denied, you can also appeal within 2 months via administrative recourse, but better to get it right the first time. The benefits of Spanish citizenship are huge, and if you're entitled to it, you really want to pursue this thing. So, this law has already granted citizenship to over 100,000 people since 2022, mostly Latin Americans reconnecting with their roots. But with the October 21st, 2025 cutoff looming, applications are surging. Consulates like Mexico City's is handling thousands of applications monthly. Don't wait, start today. There's a link in the description to book a call with us. If you need help tracing your records, we're going to help with that as well. In summary, the Ley de Memoria Democrática offers a unique, no residency path to Spanish and EU citizenship for descendants of exiles and discriminated Spaniards. With just under 2 months left, gather your papers, book that appointment, and secure your heritage. This isn't just citizenship, it's reclaiming history. If eligible, apply now before it's gone forever. If you enjoyed this video, please like, thumbs up, subscribe. We have a bunch of videos on our channel about Spanish citizenship specifically, and all types of internationalization around Latin America and around the world for second passport, offshore banking, etc. So check out some of the other videos on our channel. And if you fall into this category, please book a call with us and let's get you sorted out. See you in the next video.